if I could maybe change subjects a little bit to talk about the about what we've seen in the changes in the world with the pandemic and certainly the disruptions in supply chains. And as you mentioned, the United States is now Switzerland's #1 export market. I guess a very basic question is, how much more difficult is it to get a product from Switzerland to the United States now than it was this time in 2019?
We haven't heard much complaint, but I know there's a backlog and there are delays in deliveries, but I haven't really heard any of the companies really complaining about drastic impacts on that. But it's definitely an issue every company is dealing with.
Yeah. Well, certainly it is. It's something that we hear. You know, in some sectors it's worse than others. You know, and this is, but in some sectors it's not being affected that much by these global supply chains because we're all so connected.
And the advantage the Swiss economy is having is that, as I've mentioned, we are heavily invested here. So a lot of the products are manufactured in the United States. So the Swiss companies are where the market is, where the consumer is, and they're a little bit less impacted by all these logistics problems. But still, I mean, there's a lack of truck drivers in the United States. This is a problem for everybody also on the domestic market.
One of the major topics on people's minds right now is inflation.
Correct.
And a devalue or a decrease in the value of the U.S. dollar, and of course the Swiss franc is one of I guess the highest valued currency in the world. So as you look at that, and you look at that as, can you provide some perspective on what you think the implications of inflation are here in the United States? It's a very broad question.
Difficult question. I mean, we are lucky in Switzerland. The inflation is rather low. It's below 3% actually. Well, for the Swiss industry, this means we have to stay on top of innovation. It's always through innovation that Switzerland can beat the strong Swiss franc. As an export country, and 50% of our GDP is produced abroad, so this means that we have to have always top products in order to sell them if we have a very high valued currency.
Right. The quality.
It's quality, it's innovation, and that's what makes Switzerland strong, and which makes Switzerland always appear on top of those measurements.
Right. Hans, do you have something to add?
The big discussion now is, of course, amongst the Swiss companies, if the inflation is going to stay, or if it's just a temporary thing till this whole COVID thing is over, or if it's related to that. But as Peter said, certainly innovation will help offset that.
And Kimberly, as you well know as trade commissioner, that, as Hans said, those things. Will it stay? How long? You know, are we topping out? That's something very much on the minds of agricultural producers because it so greatly affects the cost of our products that we export. And I don't know if your perspective as you look at trade routes and how trade goes from one. You know, from Switzerland to the United States and other countries, if you've got some particular insight for us in that regard.
Well, just to state that, you know, the exports from North Carolina to Switzerland, you know, #1 is agriculture, so that continues to remain the top export, which I think will remain over the near future. But the other way around, you know, we do help Swiss exporting companies to enter the U.S. market. That's our primary focus. So, and we do, you know, projects for and help Swiss food companies as well, and also some ag tech companies. You know, the drone industry is very big in Switzerland, as you know. So there's a lot of companies in that space that we have met with and done projects for, and also with presence at the Exponential Show in Atlanta last week or last month, and then next year in Orlando. So so that, you know, ag tech continues to enter into the U.S. market from Switzerland in that space too.
Yeah, it does, and it's vitally important. And Peter, I'll say that for our agricultural producers in North Carolina, our farmers, particularly with an export market, you mentioned that that it's so important for the Swiss companies to continue to innovate and continue to produce high quality products, and that's exactly what our farmers have to do through products such, you know, through the drone technology, through all of the ways that agriculture relies so heavily on technology, but we've still got to supply a high quality product to our markets abroad, and particularly in Europe, you know, because of the level that the consumer demands. But doing that efficiently with the innovative technology, we in North Carolina, we rely a lot on our land grant universities and what we produce, but the technology marketplace is a global marketplace as well.
Indeed, yeah.
Yeah. Is anything more that you'd like to add?
No, just thank you very much for this very nice conversation. I enjoyed it very much.
Well, we thank you for the visit to North Carolina. We look forward to a continued relationship, and look forward to what we can offer. You know, I guess as trading partners, both for goods and technology, and look forward to the end of this pandemic. So.
Oh yes, we do. We do.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
All right.